Hi there, my name is Zoe. Welcome to the Forgotten Hero. Today I'll be sharing on love, romance, and time. All right, okay, I'll get into it. Sometimes, for single mothers who are not in a relationship, we find people come up to us and ask us why we're not seeing anyone yet or why we're not in a relationship. And the reasons could just be that you're not ready, okay? Or it could just be that you've not found the right person yet to be with. And that's not a bad thing. All right, let's consider this scenario here. Going into a relationship because people want you to, or friends have advised that it's the best thing for you, and you go into that relationship, and at the end of the day, you're not happy in that relationship, but just because you want to, do what your friends are doing, or kind of to be seen as being, social, or being, maybe for some reason maybe beautiful and all that, then you find a man, or to make people feel that you're wanted by someone. Okay, I think that's the right word. People see you that, oh, someone wants you, someone loves you, then you stick with a man that isn't the kind of man that you would like or love to be with in the first place. All right, okay, so that aside, and let's talk about the love itself. We know that there are different kinds of love out there. There's ludus, there's pragma, there's philia, there's eros. Okay, I'm talking about eros today, okay, which is the romantic love. Now, in seeking for someone to be with in a relationship, you find out that sometimes we tend to go for men that we're attracted to, which is okay. Maybe you like their height, or you like the way they just look, really, and you settle for them. All right, that's fair enough. All right, but there are certain areas that we've not considered in going into a relationship as single mothers, okay? And that's why I'm talking about love today, and that's why I'm talking about romance today, and that's why I'm talking about time. Okay, so we start with love. Now, in going into that relationship, sometimes we say we're looking for someone who's going to love us, all right, and be there for us, all right. We now go into a relationship with a certain man, and in that relationship, well, we find out that we begin to have issues concerning this love itself, and this is in the area of actually getting the love. All right, we're in that relationship, and the love we're actually getting from this man, we're not satisfied with it. Now the satisfaction comes into play, because we are not getting the kind of love that we think we should be getting, or we want to get. And this is because our definition of love isn't the same way they define love. Okay, our definition of love could be someone loving us and giving to us. Okay, it could be gifts, it could be anything at all. That's our definition of love. And when we're not getting it from this individual, we're saying that they don't love us, whereas they believe they are loving you, or loving us the right way, because they define love in their own way. All right, so that's where love comes to play. And at the end of the day, when you're not getting this sort of love from this individual, and you're requesting it from this individual, you begin to put pressure on this individual. At the end of the day, the individual is only giving you what he can actually give you, what he understands as love. That's what he's giving to you, and not being satisfied, then you could be termed as something you're not. All right, this is something we don't consider. All right, okay, I'll move to romance. Romance itself, yeah, so many people are romantic in their own way. Some people less romantic than the next person, all right, which is fine, okay. And there are some people that don't really understand what romance is. Now, I'm not going to explain what romance is to you, but I'll let you understand that the way you bring up yourself as being romantic applies to your own character, applies to what you like and what you enjoy, okay. So I can't really sit here and tell you, okay, if you want to be romantic, if you want to be termed as being romantic, enough, these are the things you have to do. No, I won't tell you that, because I believe that you would only apply, terms like that the best way you can to your character. Okay, so now you're seeking for romance from this man, and his own definition of romance is in your own definition of romance. Okay, forget about what the dictionary says. This is an individual you don't know, that you're getting to know, and he has his own way of being romantic, and you have your own way of being romantic, and you're saying that you want him, you want romance in that relationship. You want a man who's really romantic, and now this man is trying to be as romantic as he can. And for you, that's not romantic enough. Now that's another pressure you're placing on him to be, as romantic as you want him to be. All right, so that's romance. Now let's move to time. Time in itself only comes to play when, as a single mother, you have some time now in your life. Probably your children are in school, or your child is in school, or you've got a job where you've got more time and you're thinking, okay, this is the best time for a relationship. As your friends have advised you to go into a relationship, you're thinking, okay, I've got more time now. All right, so now you're seeking for time, from that individual. All right, because you've got time, you're assuming that this individual as well has got time to spare. And this is what you want. All right, now you go into that relationship. Remember, I said sometimes when we're going into relationship, we go into relationship because we're attracted to this person and they're saying things that we've not considered yet. Okay, that's fine. All right, you now go into this relationship because you've got time to actually be in a relationship, and you then find that this person hasn't got time to give to you. Probably they're at work or they've got things that they're doing, and the time is not just there for you. Now you're asking for this time and you can't get it. Now, these three areas, which is love, romance, and time, there's already problems in those areas. And it's so easy for people to just give up just like that because, you're not getting these three things. You're not getting these three things which you want. Now, it could be then, if care is not taken, you could term yourself as, or you could now say he doesn't care. You could now start calling him names and all that. At the end of the day, he's providing what he can provide to you. All right. And that's where it ends, okay, for seeking. Now, let's talk about these three things when we're actually giving them. Okay, giving love to this person and giving romance to this person and actually giving your time to this person. Okay, now single mothers, like I said before, the love itself, you have your own definition. He's got his own definition. Now your own definition of love, you apply in that relationship and you find that that's not his own definition of love. You do what you can to show that you love him and he's not seeing it as love. He's seeing it as something else. Now you're trying to say this is how you show that you love somebody, but he's not content with that sort of love. What do? I don't want to dig deep into this topic because in being realistic here, there's so many things that men term as love in a relationship. All right, say for instance, you're a woman who practices celibacy and you find that this man doesn't practice celibacy. Then at the end of the day, he says to you that if you love me, okay, you should, do what I say. If you really love me, we should be together in that way. And you're saying to him, no, if you love me, you should respect me and respect my terms. Okay? And at the end of the day, there's a friction there. Okay, that's something that has not been considered before the relationship started. Now, that's on love. Now, that's you giving your love and he's not accepting the kind of love you're giving to him. Now, the second one is the romance side of it. Now you try as much as possible to be romantic, okay? Considering the fact, maybe you don't know too much, it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, you're trying to give what you have and he's not content with it, all right? Then friction again, issues, you begin to have issues on those terms. Then the time itself, like I said, you've got the time and he doesn't have the time and you're given the time to him and he's not appreciating the time that you're giving to him. All right, because at the end of the day, if the time he has and the time you have don't match, then one person begins to say, listen, you don't appreciate the time I give to you, or the other person is saying, that I'm busy. At the end of the day, I'm busy and you don't expect me to leave this and that to give you that much time. Or say for instance, the time that you actually have, you don't have enough time and you're requesting, you don't have enough time to give to someone else and you're requesting for that time back from that person. Then there's a clash. It's almost like you giving what you can't, you requesting for what you can't give. These three areas is something I want us to consider in going into a relationship. And it's something that at the end of the day, as single mothers, we need to talk about, okay, before we get into a relationship and get deeper into the relationship. Because at the end of the day, it's not fair on us if we begin to change partners or making decisions just based on looks or just based on one little thing that you consider maybe would be everything in the relationship for you, when in the true sense of it, that's not everything. It doesn't keep you satisfied in the long run. We can actually consider these points here. Remember that love in itself, okay, doesn't mean chemistry. All right. I know when you meet someone and there's this great chemistry and all that, you might consider that as love. Okay, that's just chemistry on its own. All right. So in meeting someone new, just try and discuss this important point here. Listen, what does love mean to them, and how do they show love, and see if it's something that you're okay with. All right, so that at the end of the day you don't go into pressuring someone to start acting the way you would want them to act, and would seem like a controlling attitude or behavior. So that's the way you can address love. Then with the romance itself, it's the same principle. Just speak to them and ask them how romantic they are, if they're romantic at all, and what romance means to you as as a single mom. Just talk about it, and if it's something they can actually meet up to your standards, then it's fine, it's good with you. And if you can meet up to their standards as well, then that's okay, that's cool. Then time in itself is number one, is something you should always bring up, because at the end of the day, the fact that you're meeting yourselves and you have that period in time that you're meeting yourselves in that week or 2 weeks, doesn't mean that in the long run they're going to have time for you, or in the long run they've got so much time to spare. So it's something that you need to talk about. What does time mean for you in a relationship? For some people, it's just time they need. They just need that time. They want their partner to have time for them all the time, to call them, check up on them, to be there, cuddle them, that's their own love language. So these are areas that should not be put aside or seen as it's not necessary, it's not important. It's very, very important. And in most relationships, you find out that these most good relationship where both parties are honest, okay, they've come together to actually be together, they really want to be together. You find out that these things bring up these 3 areas are areas that they have issue in. They have issue with the kind of way the person shows them love. In romance, they're not buying them gifts enough, or they're not really into the gifts. They prefer the cuddles, or they prefer surprises, things like that. Then the time, the person isn't giving them time, or just different things. And at the end of the day, these lovely people, they break up and go their separate ways, when in the true sense of it, they could probably in another way find an agreement, okay, and just work together and take it slow, one step at a time. Or even before starting the relationship, as I said, talk about it and see if it's something they can actually, if there's a compromise to make, if there's sacrifices that would have to be made, and if at all both parties are willing to make those sacrifices and willing to work with each other. So at the end of the day, when they're not getting these things, they're not seeing the other person as being wicked, or the other person as being inconsiderate, or the other person as someone who's come into their life to deceive them, and all those sorts of things that we say as women, and of course as men. All right, so that makes, at least it brings some sort of understanding into the relationship, and so sort of peace, because at the end of the day, we already knew that this is what we're dealing with before we started a relationship. And at the end of the day, we have some sort of peace that this is not something someone is doing to hurt us, and to bring us down in any way. Okay, so those are the ways that we can find a solution to it for those who are seeking to go into a relationship, or who have just started a relationship. It's not too late. You can always sit and discuss these things. And if you're happy to sacrifice, because there's so many people out there that are not able to sacrifice, that for them it has to be what they want, and if it's not that, then they're not interested. So to avoid being brokenhearted, to be avoid being hurt, just try as much as possible to always communicate. Like I always say, it's all about communication. It's all about talking about things that people would tend to shy away from. But no, it's because at the end of the day, when you shy away from it, it tends to be a big problem, in the long run. So at the beginning, before you start anything good, talk about it and see where everyone is, their position, in that matter. And if you're able to work together, and be happy. That's all I have today. I'm sorry I can't really share too much on it. I just took some time off to shoot this video. I hope you appreciate it. And to single mothers out there, listen, share my videos and leave a comment, okay? And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Remember, single mothers, you're strong and you're beautiful. And whatever you go through in life, try as much as possible to rise above it and beyond if you can. Love you loads. Bye.